Hello, authors, book lovers, and storytellers. Welcome to another session here in Readers Magnet's featured author interview. My name is Lee, and I will be your host for today. And with me is one of the Readers Magnet's featured author, and of course, one of the most valuable author we have. And today, he will be sharing to us what this book is all about, him as an author, and of course, what inspired him to write this book. So, everyone, let's all welcome our one and only Mr. Bruce Ball, author of the book Quinn's Dilemma. Trapped between the Justice Department, the mob, and a notorious union brings intrigue, violence, and murder. All right, hello, Mr. Bruce Ball. It's Leah. How are you doing? It's good to see you.
I'm doing good, Lee. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing great as well. Thank you so much, Mr. Ball. All right, so yeah, here, Mr. Bruce. It's very it's very an honor. It's an honor for us to really have this discussion with you right now, especially that I can see the title of your book. It's very fascinating. But here, before we tackle more information about your book, why don't you maybe give us a little bit of self introduction? We wanted to know who Mr. Bruce Ball is.
Well, it's in the book, and it says, "May you live, may, make a wish," and it says, "May you live an interesting life." And I have. Um, I started out early in college as a swimmer. Was finally ranked seventh in the world. Um, then went into Wall Street and started to grow my career in Wall Street. But after a while, it got to be a bit tedious. It was an hour and 45-minute commute, which didn't help. And so I decided to move to another location, and there was a brokerage firm who said that if I could come up and fix the office in the city up there, that they would really appreciate it, because it was failing and they were going to close. So I went up there, and without going through every bit of detail that happened, at least I finally got the office turned around, because I got associated with the labor union pension fund, and there was 41,000 members in the pension fund. So needless to say, the money managers, who typically reside in Manhattan, had to run all the trades through one single stockbroker. It was me, but in order to make the office better, I was trying very hard to see if I couldn't get him to switch firms and leave the firm he was with and come over to mine. And finally, he did. And a little before that, and during that, and after that, it was the Chinese curse: "May you live an interesting life."
Wow, that
So,
sounds interesting, Bruce. So I believe that you creating this book is also, about it's actually your story, right? A story between reaching goals and to what side of union to be in, like an organization that runs the, let's say, not usual things, or a team that do good for things to be better. And but the end game is, how about your, on goals, and what specific paths are you going to take to reach it? Wow, that is very fascinating, Bruce. All right, now here again, Bruce, I wanted to go back with the book title, Quinn's Dilemma. Trapped between the Justice Department, the mob, and a notorious union brings intrigue, violence, and murder. Now, can you tell us what this book is all about, and what was the title means?
well, it means exactly what it said. The broker who I was trying to hire was sending money back to the president of the union, and the federal prosecutor in another city had FBI agents looking at everything, and they were trying um, put the president of the union in jail for accepting bribery, and he had connections with the mob and other notorious types. So it was a bit challenging in that you didn't want to make a big mistake, and when the FBI starts knocking on your door and asking you all kinds of questions, you want to be honest, because I wasn't bribing him, and I didn't say the other guy was either. I let it up to them, and they brought him and prosecuted him, and they found him guilty and was going to sentence him, and he got out of it the old-fashioned way. He died. So then my friend, who was the number 2 person, took over the union, and I wound up with the broker, and had lunch every Saturday with the mafia, the union people, and Christmas parties were interesting because I was requested to hire the wife of the mob's, the head of the head of the union, and the mob's hitman. So they were both lovely ladies, and they did great jobs. They really did. But you don't want to make a mistake with the mafia hitman. That's for sure.
Right. Exactly. You know what, Bruce? It's very surprising, because the stories like this, I can only see it in movies, but I did really not expect that. Wow, it is really happening in real life. Now, Bruce, that being said, that this whole story is based on your experience. Now, what was the inspiration of you really creating this book? I mean, start jotting down notes. Hey, I wanted to share this story to among as many people as possible. Like, what was an early experience where you learned that language had power by writing your own story?
I knew what I had been through was unusual. It certainly goes to the heart of what movie producers like, which is action, suspense, drama. I met my wife during all of this, and so there's a love affair in it, and I wanted to write it just for the sake of writing it. I mean, it was a challenge that I took on, and it's been interesting going forward. I mean, the book's got 5-star ratings on Amazon, and so I must have been doing I must have done something right.
Yes, exactly, Bruce. But you know what? If there are any challenges that you have faced, I must say, despite all that challenges you face creating this whole story, sharing your story, it was really, worth it, because you look at you now. I mean, there's already a lot of people already recognizes your book, right? And that being said, Bruce, as what you have mentioned earlier, that again, creating this story is not really a challenge because it's just simply jotting down notes, reminiscing what happened from the past, your life. Is there any moment that you consider as most surprising things that you have discovered while doing or while writing your book, while during the process?
The most surprising thing?
Right.
Not really, because I hate to say this because I'm not terribly proud of it, but I wound up getting divorced, and I married the other woman, And we were together for 33 years until she died in December of 2020. But after the divorce, I had some substantial amounts of money to pay my former wife. And the mob came to me and said, we'll kill her for $5,000. No,
Oh.
no,
Right. Now,
no,
yes, but
no. I'd rather pay her, 5 to 6, 7 times that each year, because she was a nice, lovely lady.
right. And that being said, Bruce, having a family during the process of this, I mean, during this whole journey. Now, I am very curious to know what was the impact of you writing this book, I mean, to you and to your important loved ones. I mean, importantly, to your loved ones. What was the impact of you writing this book?
Not much, really. I mean, the people who read it, I think, were kind of surprised because, it's kind of unfair for me to say, but they said it was very well written and suspenseful and dramatic, and what's going to happen next and who's going to get killed, and all that type of stuff is what was in the book and what really was going through my life. And so the results I've gotten have been very positive.
Right.
Even people that
They're also surprised. Hmm.
yes, even people that I did not know. I mentioned the book and they bought it, and they came to me afterwards and saying, how great it was, how interesting it was, and they kind of, it's so funny. They kind of looked at me like, "You wrote this?" And I said, "Yep."
Right. And you know what, Bruce? I must say that right now, Mr. Books, stories that like this are very popular because there are also readers that are, let's say, very interested in how and why, let's say, a crime is committed. Some people really enjoying to, let's say, to look for clues, red herrings, right? As the story progresses, it also adds challenges, talks about justice, finding evidence, and that's
Right.
very interesting, right? Wow. And you
Yep.
know what,
Oh
Bruce, I must
yeah.
say that this book of yours is really such a successful creation.
Well,
Right.
it's funny because the FBI would sit me down, and the first time they sat me down, the absolute very first words, and I'm not kidding, the very first words out of their mouth was not hello. It was, "Look, you're doing 7 to 10 years for bribery." I said, "Really? Prove it."
Yeah, and how does that feel? Uh-huh.
It made me nervous, but I knew at least what I had done or had not done, so I wasn't terribly concerned. And one time I had a meeting in another city with the lead federal prosecutor who did who did the same thing. I sat down. He said, "Hello, you're doing 7 to 10," and
Right.
he had it. I explained to him how he had it wrong. The reason that he thought that he was going to win was because I had the two ladies working for me, one for the wife of the mafia hitman, and the other who had become the head of the union. And he figured that during that time, there was a thing called new issues. That's companies who would bring their stock out to the public, offer it, and it'd sell for $5 in the morning, and by it closed in the afternoon would be $15. So, needless to say, to be able to get in on these new issues was a wonderful thing. And
Mm-hmm.
the federal prosecutor was accusing me of feeding these new issues to the wives of the hitman and the mob leader. And I explained to him that can't be because the account numbers for everybody who's employed by this firm has a special code in it, and it doesn't
Right.
allow new issues to be put in those accounts. So if you
Mm-hmm.
have nothing else to say, I'm leaving. That's
Right.
it.
You know what? That's it. Yes, and you know what, Bruce? This is very interesting because again, it's not just about sharing your story, but I believe that this book of yours is also, advocating for a specific cause and agenda. Because I can say that, it's really an interesting, someone that wanted to really raise like an awareness. There's also an integrity, the power of knowing one's right, something like a wake up call for people right now to really know what they wanted to achieve, like I must say a platform that can also be used to have a better future community, especially government. I know that this is really something that could really help a lot of people for all generation, Bruce, and it is really such a great book. Now, Bruce, last question, is there something that you wanted to say to people who would like to read your book?
Would you repeat that, please?
Yeah. Is there something like a word that you wanted to say to people who would like to read your book?
A word?
Uh-huh. Yeah. Or is there something like, hey, this book, you need to be prepared. Yes.
Well, the words would be you're going to see challenging events, uh, difficult times,
Mhm.
scary things, and you're going to wonder how all of this comes out. And it ultimately did finally finish up, and here I am.
Right, right. And you know what, Bruce, what about like an advice to those people who also wanted to to be a writer like you, or to also share their story, to let's say to really speak out, for who also wanted to be like you, because you know what, right now, Bruce, you are truly an inspiration, because to be honest, not all people will really have the courage to to stand, speak out, letting their voice be heard for what they know is right. Now, is there any advices that you can give to them?
Well, they can do what I did, which was take a course with James Patterson, who anybody who reads knows is very, very, very successful. And it gives you some insight into things that you should be doing in order for the book to be continue to be interesting, and for people to want to turn the next page to find out what's going on.
Keep them interesting. Wow, wow.
Well,
That is,
things
yeah, keep them
you know what it
interesting.
is. Things are interesting. How you express them and compose it in a book. You can do it boringly, I suppose, or you can do it, the real way, the James Patterson way, if you will. Um, he seems to be doing quite all right, and I think that he would like it.
Right, right. Wow. Thank you so much for that, Bruce. And again, Bruce, it was really such an interesting discussion. And thank you so much for gracing with us today. So, yes, everyone. And here, before we end this session, Bruce, will you please show to our viewers your book? Do you have your book with you right now? Will you please show it to the
I've
camera?
got the one. I've got the one that Amazon has. I don't have the one that Reader's Magnet has, but
Yes, because it's still currently ongoing. All right, there you have everyone. Yes, so that's the book cover of Mr. Bruce Ball's book, Quinn's Dilemma. All right. Thank you so much for that, Bruce. And yes, everyone, Mr. Bruce Ball's book is available in Amazon.com and also Barnes and Noble. And yes, his website will also be available soon. So please do follow him on all the social media platform he has. And not just that, because this coming Hong Kong Book Fair, Mr. Bruce Balls will also be joining. So his book will also be displayed during the event. So everyone, is going to be your chance to know more information about Mr. Bruce, who he is as an author, and what exactly his book is all about. Again, Mr. Bruce Ball, thank you so much for gazing with us today. And as we say it here at Reader's Magnet, we share your story with the world. Thank you so much, Bruce.
It's been a distinct pleasure, Lee.